Welcome to the Toilet Paper Diaries. On this episode, we're going to be covering the craziest things that you've forgotten already about in 2020. We'll be looking at Paris Hilton. We'll be covering the brand new movies from Wonder Woman and Batman. And we'll be having a little look at the two conventions, Republican and Democratic, and seeing who was the most crazy. All that and more coming up in this episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries.
Hi, Dave. Great to see you.
Good to see you too. As you can see in the backdrop there, it's nighttime in the UAE, and for you, it's nice and bright if you ever got out of the house.
Absolutely, nice and bright. We are just waiting for Hurricane Laura or Marco, or both, to be hitting any moment. So it's just the calm before the storm, and I think it's just going to be an interesting episode. And this we're starting in day number 166 of captivity.
Rewind that a little bit. What you're saying is if you start glitching or everything's frozen, it's because a hurricane is going to take your roof off your house, like in Wizard of Oz, and you'll be flying up. And that'll be really inconvenient. That means I've got to finish the show.
So yeah, 166 days. We are right now about to face a huge hurricane. Apparently there's an asteroid about to hit Earth. I mean, what else could keep on happening? And this is just insane. Doesn't matter how you see it. I think it is just really crazy how this year has gone. So I think that's why Dave and I... Sorry.
Here's the thing that's so crazy. You just throw it out there like it's a conversation. We're going to die in a hurricane. And before that happens, let me just tell you what's going to get you, Dave. There's going to be an asteroid that's going to wipe out most of the planet in November. The day before we have elections. So, double trouble.
Exactly.
I was going to say, that's why we're doing the show now.
Exactly. Yeah, before all of this happens. So... that's why Dave and I have decided to do our next section, which is going to be the 10 things you completely forgot happened in 2020.
Here's the thing about this, because whatever you've had going on your life right now, there were some incredibly impactful world-class events. And nobody cares about them anymore because they came, and just as you're going, well, this is terrible. COVID, what? What, masks? Really? Yeah, but what about that? We should forget about that. Okay, lockdown. Everybody, stop. Drop that. Put your gun away. We've got things to deal with. And that's pretty much what we're talking about. It's kind of crazy. And this list is so powerful because in any other year, that would be the rundown of the events of a year. And the things we've got on this list are not even on it. It's crazy.
Yeah, these are all the things that we have actually forgotten. So these are the forgotten things of 2020. And let's get started with number 10. And that's the Australian bushfires. That's pretty much how we actually started the year, remember? Suddenly, I mean, huge Australian bushfires, which right now they're also happening in California, which is just insane. But yeah, I mean, we completely forgot about them because of all the craziness happening right now.
But as that was going on, the world was going crazy for what can we do to stop it? Can we raise money to help the firemen? What about the environmental damage? Do you know how many species are disappearing? And suddenly everybody who'd ever liked the color green or wore a green t-shirt was going bonkers with good reason because it didn't feel like anybody was doing anything about it. And then suddenly with lockdown, let it burn. It's all right. No, it'll take care of itself. Maybe the warm weather will make it evaporate. Maybe that's what they thought later on. But there you go. And it's happening in California as well with the same kind of problems that go on. So that's outside number 10. Number 9. It's not as important, but it is kind of. If you like following British politics or the British royal family, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle left the UK to go and live in Canada. They decided that she was getting too much of a hard time. I think there's a lot of racist stuff that came along. They just didn't like an American in the royal family for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't live there anymore for lots of reasons. Then they decided to leave, and they called it Mexit. And what they did effectively, which was the last time I think this happened, was King Edward abdicated his throne a long, long time ago because it was actually Mrs. Simpson in the 1920s or something. He decided he was so in love, he didn't want to carry in charge of a country. But this is them saying we don't want to do any charity work. We don't want to be roped in with doing all the stuff for the public and then being scrutinized. We'll just give away the fortune. You can keep it and we'll go somewhere else. But I think they're kind of coming back since then, Ernesto. So maybe they got an electric bill for their house and thought, oh, this is a bit much. Can we get British taxpayers to pay for it again? Watch this space and find out.
So number 8, we have Brexit, which is just the insanest thing that we would have said, well, this is exactly how things are going to go in this year. This is what we're going to really remember. And right now it's just something like dust of not something there in the sky, absolutely irrelevant.
I'll tell you how mad this is. As a British expat living overseas, I had to ask you, has Brexit actually gone ahead or did they put it off again? Because I just didn't know, because I've not read anything since the previous year. Everyone's going crazy about it. And I was just, oh yeah, leave Europe. Don't worry. There won't be any Europe left to move out of. And that's kind of what it feels like now.
That's insane.
Number 7, Kobe Bryant. One of the world's most favorite sports stars from basketball, with a terrible helicopter accident that took his life and his beautiful daughter as well. And the whole world mourned. And everybody shared their wonderful Kobe Bryant stories. And things were set up to make sure that this should never happen again. And the tributes and all the rest of it. And guaranteed you forgot that even happened. Yeah, so Kobe Bryant, RIP. But what can you say?
Absolutely. Number 6, we have Kim Jong-un, that apparently he was dead for about 2 weeks and nobody knew anything about it. And then suddenly he was alive again. And apparently now he's again in a coma. So we have absolutely no clue what's going on with Kim Jong-un. Also, the fact that also Trump went to visit him in North Korea.
Don't you think Trump might have noticed that he was in a coma? Tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me when I was a student, because we'd have some mega parties and I would be comatose for 2 days at a time. And people would come into my room and say, is Dave all right? Just leave him. Leave him. Just leave pizza near the door. Push it under. Don't worry if the cheese has come off. He'll have it when he's ready. Maybe he's just been partying like it's 1999. But it's not 2020, which is even better. All right, moving on to the next one, number 5. This is incredible. The Pentagon released 3 videos of UFOs. Now, get this in perspective. The Pentagon, who would know about Area 51 and all about the fact that there is alien life, released proof that there's alien life. And because there's so much madness going on, this is the first time you're hearing about it. That's got to be a pretty messed up world.
It's just absolutely insane that this is just something that we completely forgot about it. So now we're going to go into number 4. And that's almost how we started the year. In January 4th or January 5th, 2020, we were at the brink of a nuclear war with Iran. Do you remember that craziness? And just after that, we were just about to have our event in Dubai. You were there in Dubai and everybody was like, oh my goodness, what's going to happen? Now suddenly we forgot about the whole thing.
Hold on, wait. Can I just put this in perspective? We weren't at the beginning of the nuclear war with Iran. You were at the beginning. I live in Dubai, so we're in the middle of everything. So the last thing they're going to do is start anything crazy like that with Iran. But Trump was pushing for something to kick off, and there was a whole lot of throwing stuff. In fact, remember what happened? There's the assassination of the general from Iran. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Retaliatory effect, if it was tit for tat, was to take down something really important in America that was the equivalent, and instead what they did, the smart guys in Iran, is they threw a brick over the wall and said, haha, did we hit anything? And that was it. So they got something over there, but they didn't try really hard. And then everyone could turn around and say, should we stop doing this? Yeah, I think we should. And yeah, so we averted nuclear war just in time. But living in Dubai, it had a knock-on effect to all the international gigs that got cancelled. Nobody would come to the Middle East in case it all kicked off. And I had a number of huge events that just went, let's not do it. And the only justice that's left is they didn't happen anywhere else because COVID kicked in and they all got shut down. So that's pretty much what happened.
Insane.
Number 3, and this is one you'll have to back me on, murder hornets. Murder hornets, Ernesto. Explain murder hornets.
Well, that was one of the things that they were saying, and it was suddenly they were murder hornets here in the United States, and they were all over the place, and it was in the news for the news cycle of about one day, and that was it. But I mean, everybody was like, murder hornets? That's just insane.
Hold on. I mean, I'm getting my head around this because obviously living in Dubai, are they a murder hornet because they kill people, or a murder hornet because they hide with a knife in your cupboard and wait till you're going to sleep and then...
That's the kind of name that they actually got to these hornets. I have no idea, but I just remember that for about 1 or 2 news cycles, they were just talking about murder hornets. And then we have number 2. Believe it or not, we have also an impeachment of the 45th president of the United States.
Well, actually, he was impeached, but he wasn't prosecuted. So it sticks next to him, but it doesn't do anything. And I remember that whole thing became like the world's biggest trial for about 4 to 5 weeks leading up and after and everything. And it's just such water under the bridge. Nobody even brings it up anymore. It's like, do you remember you went to that party, you got so wrecked that you punched your mum in the face? Oh, yeah. How is she now? Oh, she's going to kill you. Okay, fine. And it's just old news. Doesn't matter. Now, before we go to number 1, let's look at all the things that we turned down for this list. Bearing in mind, even before we go on to the ones you didn't know about, we decided deliberately to not talk about the things that are current. So we're not talking about the fact that there's no events. We're not talking about the fact that there's no sports. We're not talking about the fact that there's a bomb in Beirut that went off recently. That was a terrible thing. We're not talking about the fact that there's a recession or people wearing masks around the world, because there is our current things that we want to forget about. What things, Ernesto, did we turn down for this top 10 list?
Well, we have 2 very interesting ones. Toilet paper shortage, which is actually the reason why this show is called the Toilet Paper Diaries, and the Poland-Czech invasion. Now, this is a really funny...
What?
Yeah, there was an invasion. Poland invaded the Czech Republic. Don't you remember?
No. What happened?
Well, they were just doing some, I mean, of course, they're neighbors, and they were just doing some military operations. And by mistake, apparently, the Polish army invaded the Czech Republic. And then, of course, I mean, everything was sorted. But yeah, it was another of those really crazy things happening.
Basically, what you're saying is that the Polish army were playing football in the back garden. Somebody kicked it too hard. It went over the wall into the next door's garden. They snuck over to try and get it back. And the neighbors kicked off because they caught them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty much that's what happened.
Number 1 on the list of the craziest thing in 2020 that nobody talks about because most people just can't be bothered to remember it is the monkeys in India that broke into a lab and stole blood full of COVID-19, which could evolve into a whole new strain and therefore will have another load of COVID and coronavirus killing lots more people. And it's not even on anyone's radar.
And it's just August. We still have September, October, November, December.
We still have the hurricane that's coming to you today. And we have the asteroid that's going to hit the Earth or get very close to it in November. And we've got the elections. You know what? I don't think it's worth booking any holidays in 2021 because you may have to change your plans.
This is just absolutely insane. So this was for you the 10 craziest things that you will not remember in 2020.
Right then, if you just joined us, welcome to Toilet Paper Diaries. I'm Dave Crane, and
this is Ernesto Verdugo, and we would love you guys to subscribe. And if you subscribe, a lot of good things are going to happen to you. So that's why we recommend you to subscribe to this channel. Make sure to give us a comment. What do you think? Do you have any other crazy things that have actually happened that we didn't put in the list that we should have included in the list?
we're going through very political times. We're having the national congresses. First of all, we had one for the Democratic Party, and as we record this, it's going on for the Republican Party. And that's got tons of different areas that people will find fascinating and also exciting and repulsive in equal amounts, depending on which side of the fence you're on, or if you're like me and you're not in America, you can be pretty much freaked out by all of it.
You know, that's one of the greatest things, and I keep on saying to people, because, you know, I say, I have no horse in the race. So I like poking on both sides just to see what they are answering. And sometimes it's really insane. But I mean, I saw a good part of the Democratic National Convention, and I've seen parts of night one of the Republican Convention. And it's just very interesting how it was done. First of all, the Democratic National Convention, it was done in the same way as we have been doing all of our stuff with Zooms and this whole thing. And what it was very interesting was in the Republican National Convention, what they have done is they got the producers from The Apprentice to actually start producing the show. So I started thinking, well, possibly what they're going to do is they're going to be firing people. I don't know. I mean, that was just
No, to get ratings, as Trump would want, it wouldn't be firing people. You'd have to set them on fire on the show, just to make sure it's happening. As you said, he could walk down Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody. Why not set them on fire? People he doesn't like, you're fired. Petrol, and that's the way to do it. You know what? It's really strange. When you look at the Democratic Congress, and then you look at the Republican one, you can sum it up by two famous shows. First one was the making of We Are the World video with Michael Jackson and all these people, different colors, all coming together. Lionel Richie wrote the song. And the other one is just like the cast of Dallas, all coming together and saying, this is what JR did. But you know what? He's a good guy in the end. Those two shows sum up everything.
I think you're 100% right. You really hit the nail on the head. I mean, one is the We Are the World, and the other one is just Who Shot JR Dallas.
We never said he got shot. It was all a dream. Just leave it like that.
It was all a dream, yes.
It was all a dream. There you go. Make it all great again.
That's just insane.
Looking at the way that they put it all together, they're two different sides of two different coins, and by the time it comes around to the elections in November, I know one thing: I just want it all to stop, because it feels like we've had 4 years of election campaigning that comes to a head. You see, in the UK, when it comes around to election times, they start doing the elections about 2 weeks beforehand. They start campaigning and making a big deal of it. That's the way it is in most countries. It's not the minute you get in, you start defending your territory, ignoring all the policies you've got to do, and just start positioning yourself again. And I'm not even involved in any of it. I don't even live in the US, but I feel like it's just a heavy weight. I just want it to stop. La, 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 like that.
Yeah. Dave, we are going to be talking about trends, because I think it's very interesting. We're going to be dedicating a little bit of time today and also in our next shows on the crazy trends which are just happening. And one of the trends that I think it's important to start covering is makeovers, because I think with all the craziness, I mean, I was just looking at a sign yesterday that said, I am starting to get worried that I am feeling so comfortable looking like crap every day. And it's true. I mean, I think it's really, really true. I mean, I haven't worn a dress shirt in 180 days. I haven't worn pants in God knows how long. I mean, I am wearing my shorts right now.
Thanks for show me. Very nice. I haven't worn anything below the waist at all for about 100 days. For this show, I put them on. The rest of the time, it's in the wind. So here's a challenge. These glasses are meant to be my semi semi put them on when you're traveling kind of glasses. I just put them in my pocket. They're made of plastic. They're easy. If they break, I don't care. I'll get a new set.
Yeah.
But I've worn them now solidly that they're a part of my face. And they're so inconvenient because they're like the world's smallest owl. It's not even like that. It's tiny. I'm a rubbish.
I have the exact same thing. I mean, I hardly ever use glasses. I mean, if you see me live, I mean, you will never see me with glasses. But the thing is, right now, every single thing that we're doing is through our computers. So right now, if we talk a little bit about the makeovers, we know that everybody has been trying to reinvent themselves. Everybody has trying to get themselves into a complete new positioning, because that's basically the whole thing. Now, you know that I am really crazy about YouTube right now. And one of the things that I have noticed is that the biggest trend or the biggest trending videos in YouTube are makeover videos, but they are makeover videos with you know, that you go looking like crap and then suddenly you start looking great.
It's called a makeover video. That's what they are.
Let's go, exactly.
Just the explanation tells you what it's called. But here's the thing, Ernesto. We're going to be looking at those in a moment. But with the makeover videos, generally the people that they have on the makeover videos look great anyway. If you and I went on the makeover video, first of all, we'd look freaky with makeup on, and I know because I've worn it before. But when I went out shopping today, I got out the car and I walked into a shopping mall and I was exhausted walking that far because I never even walked that far. And I looked around and every single guy looked like the physical representation of Homer Simpson, because for 4 months I've not done any exercise. So a makeover can't even be makeup for us. A makeover has to be, right, you're going to hit a gym. And if I hit a gym, I'll punch the door and run away. That's me hitting a gym.
Yeah.
So with the makeovers, we're looking at the superstars who are all having their own ecosystem. But I think the makeovers are there that they're so popular because people want to get away and find the quickest fix to look glamorous, even if you're stuck in your own home.
Yeah, that's a great point, because I mean, one of the things that you can offer to people is actually, how can I help you create a makeover? That's exactly what I'm doing. I am helping speakers get a makeover from being a regular speaker to becoming a virtual speaker. This is what we have been working on it right now. Now, if we think about it, and this is a very interesting thing, I always say, you know, if you want to be ahead of the trends that are going to be happening, you have to always see outside of your industry. See, right now, possibly you have never heard of these guys, but they are really, really big. I mean, if we talk about Jojo Siwa and James Charles,
yeah,
these guys are the biggest guys on the internet. Both of them are fairly young, possibly. Jojo Siwa must be about 16 years old, possibly 15 or younger. James Charles should be on his early 20s. And these guys are absolute superstars because they are creating all the time these makeovers for people.
Get to the bottom of this, and I don't want to be rude and annoy lots of people, but when I see Jojo Siwa, and I know she's hugely popular, and my daughter, who's 9, thinks she's great, I think about those beauty pageants that they have for small children, which freak me out. Where you've got them all with the makeup on and with the dresses on, and they're walking with the bags, and somebody's got to say, stop it, go and play and watch Barney. Don't watch Barney, it's creepy, but do something else. But that's the age group where this sort of thing starts, and clearly, for someone like me to turn around and say, well, that seems unnatural, she's going, yeah, but look at the amount of money I've made. And you can't argue with that. She's got a massive amount of bing going on.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about this is that, I mean, most people, most speakers, most entrepreneurs see all these things and they say, well, you know, it's just these kids. But in reality, if you start putting things into perspective and start understanding what's actually happening behind the scenes, it's very interesting. For example, what has been happening recently is that AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, in the Democratic Party. She's very well known for being very outspoken. A lot of people don't like her. Some people love her. And what she's doing is absolutely genius, because she's connecting with that specific demographic by doing what? By doing makeovers. Just right now here on the screen, we're seeing a video from her going into the whole thing of having a complete makeover. How does she apply her makeup and whatever? And that video on YouTube has millions and millions and millions of views. So that's one of the things that I think we need to learn as entrepreneurs. We have to start thinking not how all farts think, but we have to start really trying to connect with the generations behind.
Here's the thing. I hear what you're saying, and I know you're absolutely right to hit the demographic and get what they're interested in, but there's no way that I can get involved in the makeover world unless I do something that will get me arrested or something that will freak me out. There's a very good chance that if I do a makeup tips with my daughter, it will be hilarious and nobody will ever hire me to be a serious speaker ever again. But it will get the views. So maybe we should trend.
Yeah, well, but the important thing here is, I mean, what are the younger generation doing so that we can learn about it and we can try to connect with them in different ways. So I'm not saying that we have to start wearing makeup tomorrow, but once again, I believe that the makeover story, I mean, there's a house makeover, there's a financial makeover, there's a branding makeover. There's so many makeover things that we as entrepreneurs can actually sell right now. Once again, one of the things that we are doing right now is help other speakers which are not doing well in because of course they're not getting events. We are helping them reposition themselves, and that is also a makeover. So right now, for example, we were talking on last episode about challenges. That right now I think challenges are going to be very important. I think the other very important topic is going to be makeovers.
Right, last time I got a makeover that I remember is my then 3-year-old daughter Maya, who's 9 now. I was watching TV and she decided to paint my toenails. So it was cute. It was kind of relaxing. I knew she was all enthusiastic about it, so I let her do it. She did it and she'd never been so excited. But when it came to, could you take the paint off, she was nowhere to be seen. So I scrubbed at it and I couldn't get it off. And I forgot about it because who's going to notice it? Until I went to the gym. I'm in the locker room with everybody trying to bulk up, look like you're as macho as you can be. Took off my socks, and lo and behold, my toes are painted badly.
What color was it? What color was the...
Rainbow colors. She went to town. She
really
looked as many different colors. So it didn't even look like I had a closet fetish that I didn't want to share. It just looked like I was going through an experimental phase. Don't judge me. I'm still trying to live it down.
Oh my God, that's just really crazy. But now also, I mean, if we think about it, look at how crazy this new generation is, Generation Z. I mean, all the guys which are from 14, 13 and down, they are really activists. Have you actually noticed that these guys are activists?
They are, because they come from a world where they're creating their own history as we speak. They're also from a world where you can Google everything. You don't need to learn it at school, because at school, like it or not, you're given a biased version of history, depending what the politics is, depending on who wrote the books, and depending on what elements, especially tragedies, people want to cut out and not share with anybody. So what they can do is they can Google everything. They don't have to learn like we did, the parrot fashion that shapes the person that you are. And because they're on social media, they've got friends of all colors, all nationalities, all religious groups, all cultures, all around the world. So they actually do believe in that ecosystem in a way that maybe the generation after them, all the way up to the old farts like us, didn't buy into the same thing. So in order to keep that ecosystem, they don't even see color the way that we would, or religion, or even country borders.
Or politics.
No. Exactly.
Well, that's the crazy thing about it. I mean, right now, as we're going to election season in the States, it's just so interesting to see the polarity in different platforms. I mean, if we go to Facebook, you will see the constant posts in attacks from both sides. if you go into Twitter, you will see another kind of thing. Now, what is absolutely crazy is to see what's going on in platforms like TikTok, which right now is also under tremendous pressure because they say that they're going to be banning it here in the States and whatever. But just think about it. I mean, Claudia Conway. I mean,
if you don't know Claudia Conway or Claudia Conway is the daughter of Kellyanne Conway, who is one of Trump's right-hand men or women. Definitely a woman, but right-hand man, you know what I mean? And she's also the daughter of George Conway, who is part or one of the founding members of the Lincoln Project, who want to get Trump out. So every day when they come home to eat their dinner, it's either in complete silence, like The Sixth Sense, or like somebody's left the fridge open, or you sat there having your dinner and granny's farted and nobody wants to mention anything, or it's this incredible explosion of you said this, you said that. And eventually, she made a decision. And what was the decision, Ernesto?
Well, the decision is bye-bye, Charlie, bye-bye, Trump. She's actually going to leave the White House. I mean, she's been one of the most loyal Trump people in the entire cabinet. And now she's just leaving because of what has happening. And possibly, if you have not heard what has been happening with Claudia, with Claudia Conway.
Claudia, if you want to call her Claudia, I read Claudia, but it's like potato. Let's call the whole thing off. Ms. Conway had enough of both sides, so she said, "I'm off. I want to be adopted by AOC." I think it was. She said.
Correct. Or she wants to be emancipated because she thinks, well, you know, my household is not longer safe for me.
So she wants to be adopted by somebody who's very controversial, but I can see the link. And then her parents decided, if we want to keep this happy family, this unhappy, this dysfunctional Roseanne-style family together, we may have to get out of politics completely. So they've made a decision. They're going to leave at the same time and concentrate on keeping their family together and not make another single tweet or post at all. Yeah. So if your family has a challenge of who you're going to vote for, imagine being in the Conways. Yeah. That's a soap opera in itself.
Now imagine the hypothetical scenario of AOC adopting Claudia Conway.
Right now, that would be a soap opera, but you wouldn't even bother trying to make the movie or the TV show. Just turn on the news. It's all in front of you every single day.
I think possibly it will make it also as one of our forgotten stories.
Yeah, do you remember when the Conway girl almost got adopted by AOC? In fact, we can't even talk about that because it still could happen. Yeah. But we don't know.
Yeah, we do not know. I mean, right now, absolutely anything can happen. And now also what I started seeing as a very, very big trend with those kids, which is, I think, one of the things that I keep on mentioning, and also you keep on saying how important it is from learning from the kids, is the influence of K-pop and J-pop around the world. I mean, just think how crazy it is and how important it is also for us as speakers, as entrepreneurs, not to focus only on our own market. If you haven't heard from K-pop, possibly, Dave, you can tell everyone what K-pop is all about.
K-pop is like the British invasion of the Beatles and all the British bands coming over at the same time. K-pop is Korean music, predominantly boy band stuff, but it's also girl band stuff at the same time. And it's huge. And they have devoted fans because they've crossed over from their own culture to being a worldwide phenomenon with lots of good music as well. And here's why it all gels together. Because when you actually look at the politics side and you look at the millennials and the Generation Z, but not even millennials, Generation Z, when it came to the first rally that Trump did, if you remember this, Ernesto, he was surprised how few people turned up. Mm-hmm. It was the K-pop fans on TikTok who decided to buy millions of tickets to go there to make it an embarrassing situation. So nobody turned up to the rallies. And I think that the TikTok situation where they're trying to close it down in America is actually linked to revenge for that incident.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up in conversation, but from looking at the politics and the things, we try and stay away from it. You can't help but draw a direct line between that failed rally and K-pop, and it all happening on TikTok.
Yeah, it's just crazy how that has also affected. But now, for example, let's talk about Blackpink. I think that's one of the big K-pop groups, and also BTS.
You're a big fan.
Well, what I am trying to do is I'm trying to keep abreast of all these things which are happening now. We had a few years ago, I think it was in 2012, 2013, we had another crossover, Gangnam Style.
Absolutely. When Psy brought out Gangnam Style, it became one of the biggest things of all time. And everyone learned to do that dance, whether they liked it or not. It wasn't even in English. It was a few bits. The only bits you could say was, whoa, that Gangnam Style. That was about it, really. Even when you saw the videos with bits of English, and it doesn't matter, you kind of made it up because it was so addictive and the video was brilliant. And even his follow-up to it, which wasn't great, but that song just cut through. And it was kind of like a Macarena. And what normally happens in music is when there's a fad, there's a few spin-offs. If you're lucky, they set fire to a trend. But this one clearly opened up the doors to a huge storm of Korean products that came out. And I don't think it's by accident that Samsung and many other Korean products are already in the consciousness of the world. Yeah. And everybody has access to either iPhone stuff or Samsung stuff, and Huawei as well. But it's really between that. So it doesn't surprise me that the music and the culture is coming with it. And I think it's a great thing. I don't have to be a fan of the music, but I do love it when I see that lots of different kids, lots of different people are interested in stuff outside of their culture, because that means that we're growing a global melting pot.
You have to figure out, well, not only trying to appeal to different kind of audiences, but also I think it's very important that you try to appeal to audiences in other countries. Now, talking about that, you know what? It has also been very interesting to see. Right now that we have been in lockdown and semi-lockdown, it is also very interesting to see how musicians and movies, because for a while, I mean, there were no movies coming up, whether it was in Netflix or where it was everywhere. Right now, we're starting to see appearing the new, because you mentioned it several times, when we talk about the future, and there were no masks and there was no COVID and anything like that, nothing happened. Right now, if you start seeing on some of the new TV series and everything which is happening, that is just coming up already. And right now, what we can see is Pharrell Williams, for example, in music. They just launched their
new song, Entrepreneur.
And right now, for example, we are seeing here in screen, we can see how much they are already including the masks, and they are including a lot of things which are very, very current. And I think that's also another very important thing and another very important trend, don't you think, Dave?
Absolutely. So with the video of Entrepreneur, he talks about predominantly the Black Lives Matter participants and the communities of people who ran their own business or running their own business, and the impact they have and their backstory. And he's cleverly fitted it into a video that's very inspiring, with real people showing what they're doing, regardless of the political climate, regardless of whether they feel like they're being left behind. They're doing stuff that makes an impact. And I think that that's what makes it so sweet, the fact it comes from Pharrell. And Pharrell tends to he does choose trends. It's like Madonna. He's one of these people that you never know what version of them they're going to get, because they're going to bring out something that's so groundbreaking. You go, that's a new thing. We should pay attention to that. Happy transcended almost everything in the year when it came out from Despicable Me. And so I think the new song, which isn't as catchy, but I don't think it's meant to be, it's meant to be part of the soundtrack to a movement. And I think what you'll find is that song will be played at a lot of events all about Black Lives Matter, because he's associated it with that, and it will be the song that they feel inspires whenever it gets played.
Yeah, no, 100%. I really like it. And another thing, which of course, I mean, we have been talking about in the event industry. We saw Tony Robbins going in their huge dome, having thousands and thousands of people with Zoom. And right now, he's actually going through a challenge. He's teaching all these things. You know what? For me, was really funny to see. And this is, again, one of those things that I don't think is going to be changing. Do you think that this story of the Zoom and the virtual events is gonna change? I don't
No,
think.
I don't. Not at all. I'll tell you what I think with Zoom. Zoom started off being really boring and being like, oh, there's a conference app that kind of works. It's kind of interesting, but who really cares? And then suddenly they realized that they had the world using Zoom. So the competition turns around and says, right, what we're going to do is we're going to have our own versions of it. We're going to do some Zoom stuff. That's going to be very important. So Zoom has fought back. And what Zoom decided to do is start using lots of wonderful apps and lots of kind of things that it can stick on it to make sure that everybody can't forget that you are on Zoom and doing lots of really cool stuff. It's not all cool. I don't think I should wear these things too often, but it's quite clear for an app that's relatively boring, they're realizing that they want to do something that makes people stick around a little bit longer. I think their competition at the same time is going to make it worth to see whether they can rascal. Oh, there we go. That's a mask. That makes perfect sense. But I think the competition is going to decide what it's going to do. And the competition is Google and Microsoft. What are they going to do to get everybody to go back over to their side? So you've got the fact that they seem a bit more secure and they're saying this and that. But remember, the battle for the word mobile phone was once owned by Nokia. You didn't have a mobile phone, you had a Nokia. Yeah. And it went from being a big brick to being a smaller communicator, to being something that would hold its charge for about 4 or 5 days. You could drive your car over it to nothing. It all disappeared in one go.
I was just watching the in some videos on YouTube, and I saw the WWE, the Wrestling Federation, actually how they are doing their events now. And I mean, right now we're just seeing here on screen. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, just look at that.
Amazing, amazing.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, all these people going behind the scenes, cheering for the fights. I mean, this is one of those trends that I think is absolutely critical for every business, not only for speakers. Right now, we have gone through a period of 5 months or 5 or 6 months, and look at all the crazy things and effects and all these different things that we have been able to incorporate in our live streaming. I mean, I think that is really cool. I mean, I feel really proud from what we have accomplished. Don't you think, Dave? Just by seeing, well, you know, now we understand a complete different world, and this makes a huge, huge impact.
Absolutely. In my own speaker business, I'm being inundated with people turning around and saying, Dave, what can you do for us now? We know you're in that space. We know you've developed some new things. What can you offer us? I remember one client turned around recently and said to me, I want to do a real virtual event. And I turned around to a number of different virtual event companies. And you know, it's in Dubai because it's lastminute.com. People turn around with about a week's notice or a couple of days' notice. Can we book you for something? But all the virtual event platforms needed to have 3 to 4 weeks of notice before they built something. That's got to change because the technology is being run by people who are techies, but not by people who need it to go like that. Zoom was ready. Zoom had a perfect storm. That's why the time it took for Google to create Meets and the time it took for Microsoft to create Teams, Zoom put their feet under the table and had a developing product where they had enough time to get the best thinkers on the planet to come and constantly grow and outdistance the competition. So I think that a lot of it is going to be a hybrid. I think we're just seeing the taster for it now, but it's really going to be who dares wins. Whoever jumps into that gap and does something really innovative is going to set the trend, but then we have to be prepared to be able to evolve to stop the second wave coming in who takes their technology and goes, whoa, we never thought of this. Let's do it better and bring all this stuff we had already lined up.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the WWE and you see the way that the wrestling is going, that is your perfect template for a sporting event.
Yeah,
It may
that's
be,
exactly what's going to happen. Well, in baseball right now, what they are doing is they are filling. Previously, it was cardboard people in the audience. Right now, what they are doing is they are creating a virtual thing with. I mean, they are create exactly very similar to what we are saying. In fact, let's just see right now here on the screen. You will see. I mean, we have the game itself. It looks like the stadium is full, but all of it is completely digital. And I think that's just a very interesting thing on how things are working. So if you are a speaker, if you're a business, what are you doing to actually do a makeover? Because we have been covering makeovers, we have been doing connecting with different audiences around the world, connecting with previous generation. Like, for example, right now we were talking about the DNC, Billie Eilish. I mean, don't you think that's a very, very clever way of bringing a new audience into the voting arena? I mean, right now, you know, the Republicans are trying to defend whatever they have, all the older people, all the baby boomers, the Gen Zs, which are actually supporting them. But what are the Democrats doing? They are actually reaching to the new 18-year-olds, which are just coming in because, of course, they understand how this all works. And this is exactly how they did with understanding that how important it is to appeal to new generations using the same technology as we are using right now. And that's why they brought Billie Eilish into their convention. I think that's just brilliant.
it's brilliant. And when you think about when that was used in other contexts, some people can't jump over that gap. But if you take somebody like, for instance, Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton's played at Nedworth in the UK, which is one of the biggest 3-day concerts you can get. It's a whole weekend of big bands and so on. But Dolly Parton was able to still have a massive audience of new Dolly fans who came along and saw what she was doing and went, oh, I think my mum liked this song, but she's still cool in her 80s or 90s or 70s, whatever she is. And I remember going to see Blondie playing in Dubai about maybe 10, 15 years ago. Now, Blondie, Debbie Harry, when she was big in the band, was actually about 35. She was actually quite old in comparison to the rest of the band when she first made it big. So when I saw her, she was in her 70s. And what they'd done is they'd taken the entire back catalogue of Blondie and had reinvented it with an indie makeover. So it didn't sound polished. It didn't sound at all like what you had on a record. It sounded like they got a cover band with Debbie Harry's voice built into it. And it was such a fresh approach to creating the music. So I think what you're talking about is the ability to do that crossover. As speakers, I don't think our job anymore is just to speak. I think what we've got is the ability to cross over into late night talk show hosts, into musicians, into creating sound bites and videos that motivate and inspire people. And the evolution, I think, for speakers is not to be in front of a live audience in the same way as they used to. Many of them are now becoming consultants. Now, here's where I think it becomes really interesting. This is a template that's already been used in the movie industry. The movie industry was very simple compared to the TV industry. Take it back 20 years ago. If you're in movies, you're a movie star, super glamorous, loved by everybody. If you're in TV, you weren't quite that famous. You couldn't get in a movie, but if you could, then maybe we'd give you a chance. And if you couldn't make it to be a big movie, we'll put you back in TV. Then a flip happened. I think it was probably created by 24 with Kiefer Sutherland, my favorite show probably of all time, even though it's probably very politically incorrect, maybe for these times, but not for them. So Kiefer Sutherland created the box set. He didn't, but they did. The box set where you had to watch this television. And this television was so highly produced and so addictive that they had top movie stars, top producers, and top scriptwriters jumping from Hollywood into TV. So what was significant? If you're a scriptwriter and you write a movie for a script for a movie, before the movie comes out, the odds are it's gone through 3 or 4 different scriptwriters, and you're lucky to see any part of your original script in the actual end result. But for those guys, if they got into TV, they'd write the script, it would become a pilot, and then they get a job as an executive producer to be there all the way through the series to develop the characters and what happens next. And so they get a job for life. That helps to grow the quality of TV. So why does that have a difference? Well, now TV is probably better than movies. I very rarely watch a movie because I don't want to run the risk of seeing a rubbish 90 minutes worth of stuff. But with a box set of TV, I know if it's got a good reputation, I can see the characters and binge on it for hours at a time. I think in speaker world, what you're going to have is no longer the keynotes. You're going to have the keynote and the consultancy package.
Yeah.
So you deliver a keynote, the company likes it, and they come back to you for more all the way through as a consultant. So therefore, what you have to be is an expert and a farmer of content that evolves. So here's my system on new tech trends. And I will work with you as a consultant to give you upcoming tech trends to let you know what to buy and what not to buy.
Yeah.
I'm an expert on empathy and emotional intelligence. So I'll work with you now as you go digital and you have your staff all around the world to help you implement what you need to get the empathy and the culture to all these staff. That can come from speakers if they develop their craft and market themselves effectively. I think that's where we're going.
Yeah, exactly. And I think also what happens is that we are, basically, we are the constant demo reel, if you want to put it into that way. I mean, previously, you created a demo reel and possibly you had the demo reel for 500 years. Right now, I mean, because of course we are in a virtual world, that demo reel needs to be, okay, well, this is my latest work. This is my latest work. This is my latest work. So the whole thing has changed. Now, there's one element which I think it's another big trend that possibly has not been picked up. And for this, when I saw part of the Democratic National Convention, I said, oh my God, I mean, this is something which is so powerful. And it is, how can you communicate emotion in such an emotionless medium as Zoom or television? And this is just so powerful. I mean, if you didn't see the presentation from Braden Harrington, I think it is, he's a 12-year-old kid that stutters. 13-year-old kid that stutters. Why don't we have a look at the video so that you can actually put into perspective what we're saying? Have a look.
I want to introduce you now to a young man who Vice President Biden met earlier this year in New Hampshire and helped to find his voice. Say hello to Braden Harrington.
Hi, my name is Braden Harrington, and I'm 13 years old. And without Joe Biden, I wouldn't be talking to you today. About a few months ago, I met him in New Hampshire. He told me that we were members of the same club. We stutter. It was really amazing to hear that someone like me became vice president. He told me about a book of poems by Yeats he would read out loud to practice. He showed me how he marks his addresses to make them easier to say out loud. So I did the same thing today. And now I'm here talking to you today about the future, about our future. My family often says when the world feels better before talking about something normal, like going to the movies. We all want the world to feel better. We need the world to feel better.
So there you see Braden Harrington, and the fact that he had the empathy and the ear of Joe Biden made it really impactful. You think about it, it's a perfect storm. A young guy of not yet voting age, but K-pop watching age and trending and online age is helped by an old guy who's of a completely different generation and there's no link to them. But then when he helps him from experience about stuttering, suddenly there's a link. And that means that everybody tries to fill the gap with empathy to say there is a perfect storm, a perfect opportunity to be able to use it. I'm not from a cynical point of view saying that it was just a photo opportunity, because I'm sure there's more to the heart of it, because Biden does stutter, and he's overcome his terrible stutter. I say terrible. It's unfair to say that about any ailment or challenge, to say it's terrible, because your ability to overcome it gives you a load of gifts.
So what's the whole point, and what's the trend that we need to understand? We need to understand that we can, even using these digital and virtual mediums or platforms, we can actually help connect when we understand what's going on with our audiences. I mean, and I have been repeating this for a number of years. It's not about me. It's not about what you do. It's what you can provide to people. Right now, we're living in a world where we are all becoming like Oprahs. I mean, if you remember some of the Oprah episodes, she was always, you know, we have done this for this person, and this is what we have helped, and this is what we have done. So I think that's also going to be a very interesting transformation. And possibly, Dave, you are, I mean, you're like me. Honestly, I do not really like Paris Hilton. I think Paris Hilton is, you know, extreme. I mean, the most superficial, fake person in the world. But what happens is that she has understood what this is all about. And what she has done right now is she has right now a series in Netflix talking about the Paris that you do not know. And I think this is a super powerful metaphor, because this is exactly what's going to be happening right now. What people need to see you in this medium is the people, the person that no one else knows. Don't you think it's very much like that, Dave?
We had a conversation, Ernesto, about a month and a half ago before we took the break for the Toilet Paper Diaries. And you told me something that this illustrates about the best way to get your message across to people, to get them to buy into you. Case studies.
Yeah.
Evidence of you doing stuff for other people that makes people see a different side to you. You can't blow your own trumpet, but you can let somebody else blow it. So what we've got here is Paris Hilton realizing there are no gigs, realizing that the world right now does not value lots of money, lots of look at me, lots of bling, look at me, I'm better than everybody else stuff, which she was a champion of, whether that's the real person of her or not. Yeah. She's gone, okay, where do we need to be now? Poor me. You have no idea what I've had to deal with. Now, whether that's the real her or it's the side of her, she is a chameleon when it comes to the press and the media. She's able to turn it on. Now, in the trailer for that, we saw she's talking about the fact that, you know, people don't see it. I put on a different me to go out and be glamorous. I think this is a different her to go out and be normal. But that is another act of the many choices she has of being a person. I'm not saying it's trivial. It's really her. Mm-hmm. But she's wearing a different side. It's like seeing somebody without makeup. It's like seeing somebody at home. It's like I will make a point of getting everybody who's ever taken a photo of a glamorous celebrity going shopping, wearing just jogging pants, no makeup, and a hat on, carrying the baby with a dog with them. That's what she's championed there. And it's a really smart move. It will make a difference. Why? Because she's got the eyeballs. Yeah. Everybody's watching to see who she is. And I was waiting for the fashion world to start realizing you can't turn around to people in their home and say, buy my new collection if they're not going out to show it off. Empathy is the new fashion. Look at me. I'm wearing empathy right now. Not only going to be a perfume, it's going to be a new trend amongst all the people, so-called influencers, who wanted to be on the top of the food chain for looking lovely.
I love that, Dave. And with this, I think we are running out of time. We would love to hear your comments. We hope that you connect with us by subscribing. Once again, great episode, and we'll see you very soon on the Toilet Paper Diaries.